Hey, squatties, Dr. Mike here, joined as always.
Hey everybody, this is Kelly. I'm going to shame Mike by providing my social media information.
Ah, I did it again.
Yes. Would you like to try? Would you like to try again?
Yeah, do over.
Okay.
Hey, squatties, this is Dr. Mike at Official Pagan on everything. And joining me as always.
Hi everybody, this is Kelly. I don't have any social media accounts. No, just kidding. I'm at KELLYTHUL on Twitter and Instagram.
Now, the reason that we're doing this little special one off episode instead of our normal Friday episode, which will still come, so you should like and subscribe so that you know whenever we do things like this. Arcade1Up made a big announcement today as we're recording this. They're going to be releasing something a little bit different for them, maybe not different for the market as a whole, but they're going to be putting out the Infinity Game Table. Now, Arcade1Up has put out cocktail table games. They've done Pac-Man. They've also done a Capcom dedicated table that has, I believe, 12 different Capcom games, mostly iterations of Street Fighter on that. But this is something a little bit different. This is a board game focused table with a display monitor built into it, removable legs, so that you can either put the monitor itself on a table that you're gathering around or put the legs on and use it as its own standalone piece. So I sent this over to Kelly as soon as I saw it to kind of get his reaction. So Kelly, what were you thinking when you saw this?
So, my first kind of reaction is I think I've seen this before. Not quite packaged like this, but something similar. I don't think they ever pulled the trigger on. I know when the Microsoft Surface came out, this was a big thing that they were talking about. It was going to be this like hyper intelligent flat desk touchscreen that you could like set a mug on. It would do things, and you could slide things around, play cards, etc. So the concept's not obviously groundbreaking. The idea of making it kind of cost effective, which we don't know what the price tag of this is going to be yet.
Yeah, and that's a big thing that I want to get to.
Yeah. I'd say a lot of my opinion of it's going to depend on what its price point is, in terms of how interested I get. I did think it was intriguing with what they're focusing on, is instead of, because you've seen the Pac-Man tables and those types of things, but to say, what if you had a system that you could play Battleship on and do jigsaw puzzles on and do some of that? It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of so I know board games have been experiencing a big uptick recently. Something I've been reading about. Probably a combination of the pandemic and also I'm sure a little bit of nostalgia. Hasbro, for example, they're having some sort of anniversary, so they've been re-releasing some of their classic board games and things like that. In fact, we just recently picked up Mall Madness for here, and I'd posted some pictures playing that on my social media. So it's not surprising that they would focus on board games. And like you said, we've seen things like this. I mean, obviously, touchscreens, tablets, things like that exist where you can play video game versions of board games. The thing that I noticed looking at it, though, and they did release like a little trailer as well, if you want to show that to the squatties out there before we go any further, I guess, so that we're all on the same page here.
Yeah, let's do that.
Welcome, guys. This is Arcade1Up. You know us. We're the guys that brought you all the games that you love and reimagine at your house. And now let me introduce you to the best product you've ever seen. It's the Infinity Gaming Table. Because we have the best library known to mankind. And we're doing that by partnering up with the most incredible brands in the world. Think about Parker Brothers and Hasbro, who make Monopoly and Scrabble. This is Game Night Reimagined.
So one of the things I noticed watching that video, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it as well, I've played some of these video game-ized versions of board games before, and they are sort of made to look like video games, to have a little bit more of a video game feel, with cutscenes and your pawns turning into animations and things like that, and more animation on the board. Looking at the photos and then a little bit more into the trailer there, while it does look like there's some animations and things like that, it looks like they're trying to recreate more of the board game experience rather than a video game based on a board game, which is what we've gotten in the past. So that seems like the biggest difference to me in terms of the content that they're presenting. I know, as you mentioned, it did also say there's gonna be jigsaw puzzles, there's gonna be coloring books, comics, things like that. All things, while that's nice to have all that extra content, all things you can do on your phone or tablet already. So to me, the most intriguing aspect of this is to have basically digital board games, not video game versions of board games, which is what exists currently on the market.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit before we got rolling on this. This you and I think got the same point of confusion, which is for like Scrabble, or to me even worse, Battleship. Uh,
Yeah.
that's a game where a certain amount of secrecy on what's happening on your side of the board is fairly important, and I'll be interested to see how they pull it off. But you're exactly right that it's whereas a lot of times when you get Scrabble on your phone, there's all other kind of mobile appy little added capabilities there that just kind of add to taking advantage of that platform. But this looked like a straight up version of Scrabble, and it looked like a fairly straight up version of Battleship. But I don't quite understand how I can place my battleships if I'm playing Mike and he's across the table. I'm assuming I can't be doing it on this new big flat surface because it would make the game pretty easy for Mike to know
Yeah,
what to do.
see, and this is where it concerns me a little bit. I feel like there has to be a workaround there. You had mentioned when you were speaking off camera, maybe it's going to incorporate your phones or tablets or something like that. And it does say screens, plural. When you read the description, it says it incorporates touch screens. So obviously, I feel like that means it's incorporating something else along with it. Because I can't imagine it's going to be everybody gather around. All right, now everybody else, close your eyes or look away while I do this.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. So I am assuming the other interface, the other screen, is your ability to connect on a phone. I mean, you can do that with Jackbox games today, where you can kind of connect in there, get a code, you connect on your phone, and then basically your phone's your controller while you play, and it's really actually very cool to do that. But now you've taken what's awesome about this new thing is the really big form factor, and shrunk it down for Battleship again. Picking on that one, I'd be placing all my ships, I would assume, on my phone, and I just that's one game that doesn't seem to be translate quite as well because there's not a shared board. There's two hidden boards for it. But
Right.
Scrabble, I guess I could see if I could see my tiles and say these are the four tiles I want to use. It throws them on the table and I slide them to wherever I want to move them. That part would be okay, but it's
Yeah, it actually
intriguing.
kind of makes sense for Scrabble, because for anyone who hasn't played Scrabble, you hide your tiles from the other players. There's like a little shelf that you put them on that only you can see. So it would make sense that could translate easily to your phone or tablet or whatever it might be. And then you just kind of flick them off of there onto the board, like Kelly was saying. All of that makes sense. Battleship seems a lot more difficult to translate. I mean, I think Arcade1Up has a great handle on the way they present things. So I feel like they've thought all this out. But as a consumer, these are the things I'm thinking looking at these images and now the trailer.
Yeah, and then the other thing that was mentioned, if I read it correctly, is it's powered by plug-in. So you actually have to plug. There's a dedicated power supply going to it, which kind of shoots a bit of a hole in it serving as a table on a regular basis. I guess you could bring it in and take it back out for that, but I would hope there would be an option. And I know there's probably going to be a pretty big battery draw, given the size of that screen and everything that would be going on. But boy, if there's anything that screamed out for saying, juice this thing up and then you'll get an hour or 2 hours of playtime out of it disconnected. I sure hope it goes out that way because that would really improve its playability if I were to get it.
Yeah, and that was something I actually really hadn't thought about until you brought it up. It does make perfect sense that that would be an issue, especially moving it around if you wanted to. I mean, it's one thing if you're going to put it on the legs and just keep it in a corner somewhere where it's a dedicated little space for it, that's fine, probably. But if you're going to be moving this and taking the legs on and off, using it on different countertops, different surfaces, whatever it might be, that's going to become problematic. Finding a place to plug it in, avoiding people tripping over the cord, stepping on it, things like that. Um, Now, I guess an option, and I guess it depends on what type of power source it is. Like you said, it's going to be a major battery drain. There are two different sizes. It's coming out in 24-inch and 32-inch. We don't know a price point for either one, as Kelly already brought up, and that's That's going to be a big factor, I'm sure, for a lot of people. Now, a couple of the articles that I read that have already mentioned this are saying that they're presuming it to be in the $300 to $500 range, but that's because that's the general price range for Arcade1Up products currently. This is different though than their other stuff, so I could see this go in a different way. It is also Wi-Fi enabled, so that you can add more games to it. They said it's going to come with a Hasbro pack, you have to assume some of the classic Monopoly, Scrabble, like you mentioned, Shoots and Ladders, Candyland, things like that. But there's going to be other games, other developers that they're working with that'll be available for it. So adding games and also the ability to play up to 6 different people online for games. Now, in up till this point, the couple of online enabled units they put out have had a higher price tag attached to them as well.
I was going to just say that I'm really excited about what could make this kind of a neat value add is that multiplayer option with people remotely. And so I guess doing a jigsaw puzzle with somebody who's somewhere else, or Scrabble, or those types of things, real time versus, like Words with Friends is kind of a more asynchronous. I do a play, it goes back out there, you pick it up whenever you do, but here you're kind of in the moment. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, and that is actually one of the more interesting features to me. And like you mentioned, doing something like Battleship or something like that, that may be something that works out better playing against somebody who isn't there physically with you, rather than using your phone as an interface or whatever it is and shrinking everything down. If you and I wanted to play against each other, if we each have a table that Arcade1Up sends us to review,
that would really help us assess this better.
We'd really get a better understanding and be able to speak our minds on it, just saying, whoever's listening. But another thing too, going back to the battery. So for anyone who hasn't seen our social media posts before, every once in a while, Kelly will do these home improvement projects, and I try to do home improvement projects that are not nearly as impressive as what Kelly does. But I did add a little gaming system into an antique liquor cabinet that I have, so that if the arcade units are full at that moment, you're going over to get a drink, there's a little monitor on the inside of the door that's attached to a Raspberry Pi, so you can play some games standing and drinking at the bar as well. Now, for that, I was able to get a battery pack that everything runs off of, and you get a few hours of playtime out of that off of a charge. So I wonder if it would work with an external battery pack like that, but I guess it's really going to depend on how much of a drain this is.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to see. And again, you make a good point. The best way for us to figure that out would be able to have some hands-on experience. If there was only a way, that would be great. Yeah.
So as of right now, with just the announcement and the trailer, what's your interest level in something like this?
So interest level and understanding it more, very, very high. Interest level is saying this is going to be my next big arcade-like purchase. Middle at best. Price point will be huge. If they're coming in and somehow they're really pricing this thing to move, that could increase my interest level significantly. But I'm interested to see what they're doing. I'm not really going to rush out the second it becomes available. And that's another very interesting thing, is apparently there's going to be a Kickstarter associated with the development and rollout of this, which I found really interesting. So
I did see some stuff about that. So a number of the home arcade companies have been using Kickstarter for not just their regular projects, but for kind of smaller projects that aren't going to be going out to large retail and things like that. So that doesn't surprise me. Arcade1Up, to the best of my knowledge, though, hasn't gone the Kickstarter route for anything. I don't know if that bodes well for their confidence in this when they've just gone straight to market, or at least straight to their website for a few of the limited edition consoles, but the other one's just going straight to market. I also personally, I think one of the things that has me on the fence a little bit, because I'm probably in the same place you are. My interest is peaked, definitely want to learn more. Probably middle ground, though, as far as whether or not I'm going to rush out and buy this, with a lot of that being determined by price point. I don't really consider this something that would be a part of my game room. Like, this isn't an arcade unit to me. This is something different.
Yeah, it's family game night. It's kind of entertainment party kind of deal for the gathering people around a table. One of the ways that it'll work, either as a standalone table or set it on there. Yeah, it's not really arcade material per se. It'll be interesting to see what they make available on it, because obviously their initial go-in is very much board game, jigsaw puzzle, coloring, all these types of things. You got to wonder when you look at what you have there, how much quicker you say, well, we could kind of have a little interactive competition between a couple people at this table doing that, and very quickly you turn into air hockey. and
I didn't even think that could be cool.
Yeah, and so then it starts to get more and more gamey as it goes in. So I mean, that's where I think it'll be very interesting to see what this does and how it all plays out. But pretty
And
exciting
you make a
stuff.
good point too. I mean, with having the digital display, I mean, yes, they're focusing on board games and things like that, but why couldn't that have the Pac-Man cocktail game on it?
Right. Seems like a lot of opportunities there for it to extend. Doesn't seem like a ideal thing for viewing stuff. I don't think, yeah, let me watch a show. And it's just kind of that type of thing. But I think anything that's kind of interactive, where you've got X and Y axes and people rotating around in a position, like pool, like an air hockey kind of type of thing, could be really cool, I think. So we'll see.
That is definitely cool, and I hadn't thought in that direction with it, but now my interest is piqued even more, and I'm almost going to be let down if those things aren't a part of the launch package, or at least be talked about as something that's coming soon.
Yep, and Arcade1Up, you can get a lot more great suggestions from Mike and I if you just shoot something our way.
Some hands-on experience. I feel like more of these great ideas are going to be flowing.
Yep. Sounds very reasonable to me. So this was actually just more of a pitch for us to get this thing, wasn't it? It's how it ended up. That wasn't our intention as it began with.
No, it's not how we came into it. But I mean, as long as we're here.
Yeah, we're in a good place for it, I think. So. Cool. Well, anything else on that for this special edition? We'll get it out right away.
No, I think that's it. Obviously, guys, subscribe, check back. We're going to be talking about this and other, gaming units and home arcade stuff in the near future.
Good. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.